In the year 2147, Earth was no longer a planet isolated in its corner of the universe. Humanity had finally reached the stars, sending ships to explore distant galaxies and making contact with alien civilizations. But not all encounters were friendly. One day, something changed forever. The skies above Earth darkened as massive ships descended from space, their sleek metallic surfaces glinting ominously in the sunlight. These were the Zorathians, an advanced alien race known for their ruthlessness. They came without warning, surrounding the planet like predators circling prey. General Ethan Carter stood in the command center of the United Nations Defense Headquarters, staring at the holographic display showing the positions of the alien fleet. His face was calm, but his mind raced. Beside him, Dr. Laura Bennett adjusted her glasses as she studied the readings on her tablet. "Their technology is far beyond anything we've seen," she said quietly. "If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already." Ethan nodded but didn't respond. He knew the situation was dire. The Zorathian commander, Vraxk, had sent a message across all frequencies. It wasn't a request, it was a demand. Surrender or face annihilation. Humanity had less than 24 hours to decide. For most people, the choice seemed impossible. Surrender meant losing freedom, dignity, and possibly life itself. Fighting back meant certain death against an enemy that had weapons capable of wiping out entire cities with a single blast. As news of the invasion spread, panic erupted worldwide. Streets filled with terrified crowds trying to flee, while others barricaded themselves indoors, praying for salvation. Governments scrambled to coordinate a response, but there was little hope. Earth's military might look like toys compared to the towering warships hovering in the atmosphere. Still, Ethan refused to give up. He gathered his top advisors, including Laura, who had spent years studying extraterrestrial life. Together, they began planning humanity's last stand. Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Hayes prepared his squadron of fighter jets at an airbase outside Chicago. Ryan was a skilled pilot, known for his quick thinking and bravery. As he climbed into the cockpit, he glanced at the horizon where one of the alien ships loomed like a storm cloud. "This feels hopeless," muttered his co-pilot, Alex, over the comm system. Ryan clenched his jaw. "Hope doesn't win wars," he replied. "We do what we can." The order came soon after: launch a preemptive strike to test the aliens' defenses. Ryan and his team soared into the sky, their engines roaring as they approached the nearest ship. When they fired their missiles, nothing happened. The projectiles bounced off an invisible shield protecting the vessel. Frustrated but undeterred, Ryan ordered his team to circle around and try again. This time, they used experimental plasma weapons developed by scientists desperate for any advantage. To everyone's surprise, one of the smaller alien ships exploded in a fiery burst. But victory was short-lived. The Zorathians retaliated with devastating force. Beams of energy shot down from the sky, obliterating buildings and turning cities into ash. Ryan's squadron scattered, dodging explosions as best they could. His plane took heavy damage, forcing him to eject moments before it crashed into the ocean. As he floated in the water, watching smoke rise from the coastline, Ryan realized this fight would require more than courage. Humanity needed a miracle, and fast. Back at the command center, Ethan watched live footage of the destruction unfolding across the globe. New York burned. Tokyo crumbled. London sank into chaos. Yet amidst the despair, something stirred within him. Humanity had always found ways to survive, even when the odds seemed insurmountable. Turning to Laura, he said firmly, "We won't go down without a fight." Though fear gripped the hearts of millions, whispers of defiance began to spread. Ordinary people stepped forward to help. Mechanics building makeshift weapons, doctors treating the wounded, farmers sharing food with refugees. Even children drew pictures of Earth fighting back, their crayon drawings taped to walls as symbols of hope. Slowly but surely, humanity started to unite, not just as nations, but as one species determined to protect its home. And somewhere deep inside, Ethan believed that unity might be their greatest weapon yet. The first attempt at diplomacy was a disaster. General Ethan Carter had hoped that talking to the Zorethians might prevent further bloodshed. He stood in a secure room, surrounded by screens showing the alien fleet hovering menacingly above Earth. On one screen, the face of Commander Vraxk appeared, a cold, insect-like creature with glowing red eyes and sharp mandibles. His voice, translated through advanced software, boomed with authority. "Your resistance is futile," Vraxk said. "Surrender now, or your species will be erased." Ethan tried to reason with him. "We're not your enemies," he said, keeping his tone calm. "There's no need for violence. We can work together." But Vraxk cut him off with a harsh laugh. "You are weak. You are primitive. Your only value is as servants to the Empire." Before Ethan could respond, the transmission ended abruptly. Moments later, the Zorethian ships unleashed another wave of attacks. This time, they targeted major cities: New York, Tokyo, London, all struck without warning. The explosions lit up the night sky like fireworks, but there was nothing festive about them. Millions died instantly. Captain Ryan Hayes watched the destruction from a safe house near Chicago. After surviving the crash of his jet, he'd been pulled from the ocean by a fishing boat and taken to shore. Now, sitting in front of an old television, he saw images of burning buildings and terrified people running for their lives. It felt surreal, like something out of a nightmare. Beside him sat Alex, his co-pilot, who had also escaped the earlier battle. "They're not even giving us a chance," Alex muttered bitterly. Ryan didn't answer. He just stared at the screen, his jaw clenched tight. Dr. Laura Bennett was equally shaken. She worked tirelessly in her lab, analyzing data from the brief skirmish between Earth's forces and the Zorethians. Her findings were grim. The alien shields were nearly impenetrable, and their weapons far surpassed anything humanity possessed. "We're outmatched," she told Ethan when they met later that day. "But maybe we don't have to fight them head-on." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Laura hesitated before answering. "Their technology must have weaknesses. If we can find them and exploit them, we might stand a chance." While scientists searched for answers, ordinary citizens stepped up to help however they could. In Los Angeles, a mechanic named Danny Moore converted abandoned cars into makeshift armored vehicles. "If we can't shoot him down, maybe we can ram him," he joked to his friends, though no one laughed. Across the Atlantic, in Paris, a young woman named Sophie Laurent organized groups of volunteers to care for refugees flooding into the city. Food, water, and medical supplies were scarce, but Sophie refused to give up. "We've survived worse," she told anyone who doubted her. "We'll survive this too." Despite these efforts, fear continued to spread. People huddled in basements, praying for salvation. Some turned to religion, while others lashed out in anger, blaming their leaders for failing to protect them. President Samantha Brooks addressed the world in a televised speech, urging everyone to stay strong. "This is not the end," she declared. "We are human beings, and we will fight for our freedom. Together, we will rise above this darkness." Her words inspired some, but many remained skeptical. How could humanity possibly win against such overwhelming odds? Amidst the chaos, Ethan made a bold decision. Instead of focusing solely on defense, he proposed launching a counterattack. "We can't just sit here and wait for them to crush us," he argued during a meeting with military leaders. "We need to hit them where it hurts, hard and fast." The idea was risky, but it sparked hope among those present. Plans were drawn up, resources allocated, and teams assembled. For the first time since the invasion began, people started to believe that victory might still be possible. Ryan and Danny were chosen to lead part of the effort. They would train new recruits, teaching them how to use whatever weapons they could scavenge or build. As Ryan looked at the faces of the men and women volunteering to fight, he felt a flicker of pride. These were ordinary people: teachers, shopkeepers, students, but they were willing to risk everything to save their planet. Maybe, just maybe, they could turn the tide. Back in her lab, Laura pored over ancient texts and artifacts, searching for clues about Earth's forgotten past. She believed that answers might lie hidden in history, waiting to be uncovered. Little did she know her discoveries would change everything, for better or worse. As the Zorathian attacks continued, humanity reached a breaking point. Cities burned, families were torn apart, and hope seemed like a distant memory. But in the face of despair, something remarkable happened. People began to unite. For decades, Earth's nations had argued over borders, resources, and ideologies. Now, with an alien empire threatening their very existence, those divisions no longer mattered. Leaders from every country came together to form the United Global Alliance, UGA, a single government tasked with defending Earth. President Samantha Brooks stood before a crowd of world leaders in Geneva, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "Today we are not Americans, Chinese, Russians, or Europeans," she said. "We are humans. And as humans, we will stand together against this threat." Her speech was broadcast across the globe, reaching billions of frightened citizens. Though many doubted whether unity could truly save them, others felt a spark of determination ignite within their hearts. For the first time, humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, it was fighting as one. General Ethan Carter became the head of the UGA's military operations. He knew that traditional strategies wouldn't work against the Zorathians. Their technology was too advanced, their numbers too overwhelming. Instead, he proposed a radical plan: take the fight directly to the enemy. "If we sit here and defend, we'll lose," Ethan told his advisors. "But if we strike hard and fast, we might catch them off guard." The idea was risky, even reckless, but it was the only chance they had. Dr. Laura Bennett played a key role in turning Ethan's vision into reality. In her lab, she worked around the clock to modify Earth's outdated nuclear arsenal. Her goal was to create electromagnetic pulse, EMP-like devices capable of disabling the Zorathians' shields and weapons. It was a long shot, but early tests showed promise. "If we can get close enough to deploy these," Laura explained during a briefing, "we might be able to cripple their fleet." Meanwhile, ordinary citizens stepped up in ways no one expected. Danny Moore, the mechanic from Los Angeles, joined a group of volunteers building vehicles armed with scavenge weapons. Using rusted car parts and spare electronics, they created crude but effective machines designed to harass the invaders. Sophie Laurent, the young woman organizing relief efforts in Paris, rallied civilians to act as scouts, reporting alien movements to the UGA. Even children contributed by drawing maps of Zorathian patrols based on what they observed from hiding spots. Captain Ryan Hayes found himself leading a team of inexperienced recruits. Most of them had never held a weapon before, let alone fought in a war. Yet despite their lack of training, they were eager to learn. Ryan drilled them day and night, teaching them how to aim, move tactically, and stay alive in combat. Among the recruits was Alex, his former co-pilot, who had decided to trade flying for ground missions. "I'm done sitting on the sidelines," Alex said firmly when Ryan asked why he volunteered. Ryan nodded, respecting the decision. One evening, as Ryan walked through the makeshift camp where his team trained, he noticed a young woman sitting alone by a fire. Her name was Mia Rodriguez, a college student who had left her studies to join the fight. She looked exhausted but determined. "Do you think we can win?" she asked softly when Ryan approached. He hesitated before answering. "Honestly, I don't know," he admitted. "But I do know this: we won't give up without a fight." Ethan shared Ryan's sentiment. Late at night, he often stared at maps of Earth, marking areas hit hardest by the Zorathians. Each red dot represented loss: lives gone, homes destroyed, dreams shattered. But amidst the destruction, there were also green dots symbolizing acts of bravery and resistance: a factory repurposed to build weapons, a town banding together to protect its own. These small victories gave him hope. Laura's research took an unexpected turn when she stumbled upon ancient texts describing a lost civilization that once thrived on Earth. According to the writings, this civilization had developed powerful energy weapons before disappearing mysteriously thousands of years ago. Intrigued, Laura convinced Ethan to send a team to investigate ruins buried beneath Antarctica. If the stories were true, the secrets hidden there could change everything. As preparations for the counterattack intensified, humanity clung to the belief that unity and ingenuity might tip the scales in their favor. They didn't know if they would succeed, but they were ready to try. The mission to Antarctica was risky, but it had to be done. Dr. Laura Bennett led the team herself, unwilling to trust such an important task to anyone else. The journey began in secret, with a small group of scientists and soldiers boarding a specially equipped aircraft designed to withstand the harsh polar conditions. Among them was Danny Moore, the mechanic from Los Angeles, who had volunteered after hearing about the mission. "If there's something down there that can help us fight back," he said, "then I'm going." As the plane descended onto the icy continent, the landscape below looked like another world, vast, empty, and unforgiving. The temperature dropped rapidly as they disembarked, forcing everyone to bundle up in thick thermal suits. Laura carried a tablet displaying maps of the area, pinpointing the location of the ruins based on ancient texts she had studied. "We don't have much time," she reminded the group. "If we're right about this, we need to move quickly." The trek to the ruins was grueling. Strong winds howled around them, and snowstorms made visibility nearly impossible at times. Danny struggled under the weight of his gear, but refused to complain. He focused instead on keeping pace with the others, determined not to slow them down. Along the way, they encountered obstacles, crevasses hidden beneath layers of snow, wild animals adapted to the cold, and equipment malfunctions caused by the freezing temperatures. Each challenge tested their resolve, but no one gave up. After 2 days of relentless travel, they reached the site. Buried beneath centuries of ice was a massive stone structure, its surface etched with strange symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. Laura's heart raced as she examined the carvings. They matched the descriptions in the ancient texts perfectly. "This is it," she whispered, her breath visible in the frigid air. "We found it." Inside the ruins, the team discovered chambers filled with advanced machinery, unlike anything they'd ever seen. Some devices appeared to be weapons, while others seemed to serve unknown purposes. Laura worked tirelessly to decipher the symbols and activate the systems. Hours turned into days as she pieced together fragments of knowledge from the past. Finally, she uncovered blueprints for a weapon capable of emitting concentrated energy beams, powerful enough to pierce even the strongest shields. "This could be our answer," Laura said excitedly, showing the blueprints to the others. Danny stared at the designs, his eyes wide with awe. "Do you think we can build it?" he asked. Laura nodded. "We'll need rare materials, though. Stuff we won't find here on Earth." Ethan Carter agreed to send Lieutenant Olivia Kane, a skilled pilot, on a dangerous mission to retrieve the necessary components from asteroid belts far beyond Earth's orbit. While preparations for building the weapon continued, morale among humanity began to rise. News of the discovery in Antarctica spread quickly, inspiring people to keep fighting. Refugees huddled in shelters talked about the ancient civilization that had once protected Earth. Soldiers training for battle drew strength from the idea that they were carrying on a legacy of resistance. Even President Samantha Brooks mentioned the findings in a speech, calling it proof that humanity's destiny was written in the stars. Back in Antarctica, the team faced one final hurdle before leaving the ruins. A sudden storm trapped them inside, cutting off communication with the outside world. Supplies dwindled and tensions ran high. Danny used his mechanical skills to repair damaged equipment, ensuring they could survive until the weather cleared. When the storm finally passed, they emerged exhausted but triumphant, carrying priceless knowledge that could turn the tide of the war. Ethan wasted no time putting Laura's plans into action. Factories across the globe were repurposed to construct the prototype weapon, which they named the Solar Lance. Engineers worked day and night, guided by Laura's instructions. Meanwhile, Olivia prepared for her perilous journey into space, knowing that failure would mean the end of humanity's last hope. As the solar lance took shape, so did humanity's determination. People rallied behind the project, offering whatever help they could. Farmers donated metal from old farm equipment. Teachers taught children how to assemble parts. Everyone played a role, no matter how small. For the first time since the invasion began, Earth felt alive, not with fear, but with purpose. Deep down, Ethan knew the road ahead would still be difficult. But as he watched the solar lance come together piece by piece, he allowed himself a moment of quiet optimism. Maybe, just maybe, humanity wasn't as powerless as it seemed. Lieutenant Olivia Kane stood at the helm of the starship Eclipse *, staring out at the endless expanse of space. Her mission was clear but perilous. Retrieve rare materials from an asteroid belt millions of miles away, essential for completing the solar lance. The fate of humanity rested on her shoulders, and she felt the weight of it with every breath. Behind her, a small crew worked tirelessly to ensure the ship ran smoothly. Among them was Mia Rodriguez, who had volunteered despite having no prior experience in space travel. "I wanted to do more than just sit around," Mia had said when asked why she joined. Olivia admired her courage but worried about what lay ahead. The journey began quietly, the hum of the engines the only sound breaking the silence. As they approached the asteroid belt, however, tension filled the air. The Zorathians were known to patrol the area, scavenging resources for their own war efforts. Olivia knew they had to be careful. "Stay sharp," she told her crew as they entered the dense field of floating rocks. "One wrong move, and we're done." Navigating through the asteroid belt was like threading a needle in a hurricane. Massive chunks of rock drifted lazily, while smaller fragments zipped past at breakneck speeds. The ship's sensors scanned for the specific minerals needed, but progress was slow. Hours turned into days as they searched, the pressure mounting with each passing moment. Olivia barely slept, her eyes glued to the monitors. She couldn't afford to fail, not when Earth was counting on her. Finally, they found what they were looking for. A large asteroid rich in the rare elements glimmered faintly in the distance. "That's it," Olivia said, pointing to the screen. "Prepare the mining drones." The team sprang into action, deploying robotic arms to extract the precious materials. It was delicate work. One misstep could destabilize the asteroid and send it crashing into the ship. Everyone held their breath as the process unfolded. Just as the last batch of minerals was loaded aboard, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Zorathian patrol incoming," shouted one of the crew members. On the monitor, 3 alien vessels appeared, closing in fast. Olivia's mind raced. They couldn't fight. The Eclipse wasn't built for combat. But they couldn't let the enemy capture them either. Thinking quickly, she ordered the crew to activate the ship's cloaking device, a prototype system designed to make the vessel invisible to scans. "Hold your positions," Olivia instructed, her voice steady despite the chaos. The Zorathian ships circled the area, their weapons charging. For several agonizing minutes, the Eclipse sat motionless, hidden in plain sight. Inside, the crew remained silent, afraid even the slightest sound might give them away. Mia gripped the edge of her seat, her knuckles white, while others exchanged nervous glances. Finally, the alien ships moved on, assuming there was nothing worth investigating. As soon as the coast was clear, Olivia wasted no time. "Let's get out of here," she said firmly. The Eclipse disengaged its cloak and accelerated toward Earth, leaving the asteroid belt behind. The return trip was tense but uneventful, and when they finally re-entered Earth's atmosphere, cheers erupted throughout the ship. They had succeeded against all odds. Back on Earth, General Ethan Carter greeted Olivia personally as she stepped off the ship, carrying crates filled with the vital materials. "You've done well," he said, his tone heavy with gratitude. Laura Bennett immediately took possession of the minerals, rushing them to the labs where engineers worked around the clock to complete the solar lance. News of Olivia's successful mission spread quickly, lifting spirits across the planet. People celebrated not just the retrieval of the materials, but the bravery of those who risked everything to bring them back. Refugees in shelters whispered stories of the daring escape, while soldiers training for battle drew inspiration from the crew's determination. With the final pieces in place, construction of the solar lance accelerated. Factories buzzed with activity, and volunteers streamed in to assist however they could. Danny Moore spent hours welding components together, his hands blistered but steady. Sophie Laurent organized food deliveries for the workers, ensuring no one went hungry during the long nights. Even children pitched in, sorting tools and delivering messages between teams. As the weapon neared completion, Ethan gathered his top advisors to discuss strategy. "This is our best shot," he said, pointing to a holographic model of the solar lance. "We'll need to hit their command ship directly if we want to cripple their fleet." Ryan Hayes nodded, already thinking about how to lead the strike team. He knew the mission would be dangerous, possibly suicidal, but he didn't hesitate. "Count me in," he said firmly. The solar lance was nearly complete, its sleek design gleaming under the lights of the construction facility. Engineers worked tirelessly, fine-tuning every detail to ensure it would function as intended. Dr. Laura Bennett supervised the final stages, her eyes scanning readouts and adjusting settings with precision. "This is our best chance," she murmured to herself, knowing that failure wasn't an option. General Ethan Carter stood nearby, watching the weapon take shape. He felt a surge of pride, but also a deep sense of responsibility. The lives of billions depended on this one device. As the solar lance neared completion, Ethan began planning the next phase, deploying it against the Zorathian fleet. Their command ship, a massive vessel at the heart of the alien armada, was the obvious target. Destroying it would disrupt the Zorathians' ability to coordinate their attacks, giving humanity a fighting chance. But getting close enough to use the solar lance wouldn't be easy. The enemy's shields were impenetrable except for brief moments when they recharge, a weakness Laura had discovered during her research. Ethan devised a bold strategy. Using decoy fleets made up of Earth's remaining ships, he would draw the bulk of the Zorathian forces away from their command ship. While the aliens focused on the fake attack, a small strike team would slip through their defenses and deliver the solar lance directly to the enemy's core. It was a risky plan, but it was the only way to ensure success. "We'll need our best people for this," Ethan said during a briefing with his advisors. Captain Ryan Hayes immediately volunteered to lead the mission. Ryan assembled a team of skilled individuals, each chosen for their unique abilities. Danny Moore joined as the mechanic, tasked with ensuring the solar lance remained operational during the mission. Maya Rodriguez came along as communications specialist, her quick thinking vital for staying in contact with Earth's forces. Alex rounded out the group, serving as navigator and backup pilot. Together, they trained relentlessly, simulating every possible scenario they might face. "We'll only get one shot at this," Ryan reminded them repeatedly. "We can't afford mistakes." Meanwhile, the Zorathians launched another devastating wave of attacks, targeting Earth's remaining industrial hubs. Factories producing weapons and supplies were obliterated, forcing humanity to adapt quickly. Refugees poured into underground shelters, seeking safety from the relentless bombardment. Despite the chaos, ordinary citizens continued to support the war effort. Farmers donated crops, doctors treated the wounded, and teachers cared for children orphaned by the conflict. Even in the darkest moments, humanity refused to give up. Finally, the day of the counterattack arrived. The decoy fleets launched first, drawing the attention of the Zorathian armada. Explosions lit up the sky as Earth's ships engaged the enemy, creating a diversion that allowed Ryan's team to slip through undetected. Piloting a modified transport ship, Ryan guided his crew toward the command vessel, their hearts pounding with anticipation. The closer they got, the more intense the tension became. Every alarm blaring inside the cockpit felt like a countdown to disaster. As they approached the command ship, Danny monitored the solar lance, making last-minute adjustments to ensure it was ready to fire. "We're almost there," he said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. Mia kept a watchful eye on the radar, alerting the team to any incoming threats. Alex navigated carefully, avoiding patrols and debris fields that could expose their position. Ryan focused on the mission ahead, his mind sharp and clear. This was what he had trained for, what they had all trained for. When they reached the command ship, Ryan activated the cloaking device, masking their presence as they docked. The team moved swiftly, carrying the solar lance through the labyrinthine corridors of the alien vessel. They encountered resistance along the way, narrowly escaping capture multiple times. Each step brought them closer to their goal, the core chamber housing the ship's power source. Inside the chamber, Ryan set the solar lance in place, programming it to detonate once activated. As the weapon powered up, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. "They know we're here," Maya said urgently. Ryan nodded. "Time to go." But as they turned to leave, a squad of Zorathian soldiers blocked their path. Trapped and outnumbered, the team prepared for a desperate fight. For the first time, doubt crept into Ryan's mind. Had they come this far, only to fail? Trapped inside the Zorathian command ship, Ryan Hayes and his team faced a moment of truth. A squad of alien soldiers stood between them and escape, their weapons raised and ready to fire. The chamber was filled with the hum of machinery and the faint glow of energy conduits lining the walls. Ryan's mind raced as he assessed the situation. They couldn't fight their way out, not with so many enemies, but surrender wasn't an option either. Behind him, Danny clutched the control panel for the solar lance, his fingers hovering over the activation switch. "We can't let them stop us," Danny said firmly, his voice trembling slightly. Ryan nodded. He knew what had to be done. "Danny, stay here and finish setting the timer," he ordered. "The rest of you, cover me." Without waiting for a response, Ryan stepped forward, raising his weapon. His first shot hit one of the Zorathian soldiers square in the chest, sending it stumbling backward. The others opened fire, forcing Ryan to dive behind a console for cover. Bullets ricocheted off metal surfaces, sparks flying everywhere. Maya and Alex joined the fight, firing blindly from their positions to keep the enemy distracted. Danny worked frantically, entering commands into the solar lance's control panel. Sweat dripped down his face as he double-checked the settings. The weapon needed 10 minutes to fully charge before detonation, a lifetime when every second counted. Glancing over his shoulder, he saw Ryan exchanging fire with the aliens, his movements sharp and precise. 5 minutes left, Danny called out, trying to keep his voice steady. Mia crouched beside Ryan, reloading her weapon. "We're running out of ammo," she warned. Ryan gritted his teeth but didn't respond. He spotted an opening, a ventilation shaft above the chamber, and signaled for Alex to move toward it. "Get up there and find another exit," Ryan instructed. "We'll hold them off as long as we can." Alex hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Using a nearby console as a makeshift ladder, he climbed into the shaft and disappeared into the darkness. Back at the control panel, Danny felt a surge of panic as 2 Zorathian soldiers broke through the team's defenses and charged toward him. Thinking quickly, he grabbed a wrench from his toolkit and swung it like a bat, catching one soldier off guard. The other lunged at him, but before it could strike, Ryan appeared out of nowhere, tackling it to the ground. "Stay focused," Ryan shouted, shoving the alien away. Danny nodded, returning to the controls. 3 minutes. The battle raged on, the sound of gunfire and screeching alien cries echoing through the chamber. Ryan and Mia fought side by side, their movements synchronized despite the chaos. They were outnumbered and exhausted, but determination kept them going. Every time they thought they couldn't hold out any longer, they found a new burst of energy. Humanity's survival depended on them, and they refused to give up. Above them, Alex crawled through the ventilation shaft, searching for a way out. The narrow passage was cramped and dark, forcing him to rely on touch rather than sight. After several tense minutes, he found a grate leading to a corridor outside the chamber. Kicking it open, he dropped down and scanned the area. It was empty. No signs of patrols or reinforcements. "I've got a route." Alex called back into the shaft, hoping his voice would carry. Inside the chamber, Ryan heard the faint shout and smiled grimly. "Alex has an exit," he told Mia. "We just need to hold on a little longer." By now, most of their ammunition was gone, leaving them to rely on improvised tactics. Ryan hurled a piece of debris at one soldier, knocking it off balance, while Mia used her last grenade to create a temporary barrier. Through it all, Danny kept his eyes glued to the timer. 1 minute. As the countdown reached its final seconds, Ryan made a split-second decision. "Everyone, fall back," he yelled. He grabbed Danny by the arm and pulled him away from the control panel, dragging him toward the ventilation shaft. Maya followed close behind, firing one last desperate volley to cover their retreat. Just as they reached the opening, the solar lance activated with a deafening roar. A wave of energy surged through the chamber, engulfing the Zorathian soldiers and tearing through the ship's core systems. The team scrambled into the shaft, climbing as fast as they could. Behind them, explosions rocked the command ship, shaking the entire structure. Metal groaned and twisted as the vessel began to collapse. When they finally emerged into the corridor where Alex waited, the 4 of them sprinted toward the nearest escape pod. The ship was falling apart around them, flames licking at their heels. The escape pod drifted silently through space, its occupants battered but alive. Ryan Hayes stared out the small viewport, watching as the remnants of the Zorathian command ship burned like a dying star. The explosion had been massive, sending shockwaves that crippled dozens of enemy vessels. For the first time in weeks, there was a glimmer of hope, but it came at a cost. Ryan's hands trembled as he gripped the edge of his seat, replaying the mission in his mind. He thought about the choices they'd made, the risks they'd taken, and the lives lost along the way. Inside the pod, the mood was somber. Danny Moore sat slumped against the wall, his face pale and streaked with dirt. His fingers still clutched the wrench he'd used to defend himself during the final moments aboard the command ship. Maya Rodriguez leaned forward, her head in her hands, trying to process everything that had happened. Alex, usually calm and composed, looked shaken, his eyes darting nervously, as if expecting the Zorathians to appear at any moment. No one spoke. There were no words to capture what they'd just endured. Back on Earth, General Ethan Carter watched live footage of the battle unfolding above the planet. The destruction of the command ship sent ripples through the Zorathian fleet, causing confusion and disarray. Ships began retreating from Earth's orbit, their formations breaking apart as they fled into deep space. Cheers erupted in the command center, but Ethan remained quiet. He knew this wasn't over. Not yet. The Zorathians might regroup and return, stronger than before. Still, for now, humanity had won a crucial victory. Dr. Laura Bennett stood beside Ethan, tears streaming down her face. She had spent countless hours designing the solar lance, pouring her heart and soul into the project. Seeing it succeed filled her with pride, but also sorrow. "They did it," she whispered, thinking of Ryan and his team. "They actually did it." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "They gave us a chance," he said firmly. "Now we have to make the most of it." Across the globe, news of the counterattack spread quickly. Refugees hiding in underground shelters emerged cautiously, looking up at the skies where the alien ships had once loomed. Soldiers fighting on the front lines cheered, their spirits lifted by the unexpected turn of events. Even those who had lost loved ones found solace in the knowledge that humanity had struck back against its oppressors. Streets filled with people celebrating, waving flags and singing songs of defiance. For the first time since the invasion began, Earth felt alive with hope. But not everyone rejoiced. In cities ravaged by the Zorathians' earlier attacks, survivors sifted through the ruins of their homes, searching for anything salvageable. Sophie Laurent worked tirelessly to care for the injured, her hands bandaged from treating burns and shrapnel wounds. Though grateful for the reprieve, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. "We've bought ourselves some time," she told a group of volunteers, "but we need to prepare for whatever comes next." As the escape pod carrying Ryan and his team approached Earth's atmosphere, rescue teams scrambled to intercept them. When the hatch opened, medics rushed to tend to their injuries, but Ryan waved them off. "We're fine," he said hoarsely, though his voice betrayed his exhaustion. Reporters swarmed the landing site, eager to hear their story, but Ryan refused to answer questions. Instead, he walked straight to Ethan, who greeted him with a firm handshake. "You did good, son," Ethan said quietly. Ryan nodded, too tired to respond. Later that night, Ryan sat alone in a quiet room, staring at the floor. The weight of what they'd accomplished and sacrificed pressed heavily on him. Danny joined him after a while, sitting silently beside him. Neither man spoke. They didn't need to. They both understood the burden they carried. In the days that followed, humanity began rebuilding. Factories reopened, farms were replanted, and schools resumed classes. People mourned their losses but also celebrated their resilience. The Solar Lance had proven that humanity wasn't powerless, that even in the face of overwhelming odds, they could fight back. And somewhere deep inside, Ryan believed that maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something greater. The destruction of the Zorathian command ships sent shockwaves not just through their fleet but across the galaxy. News of Earth's bold counterattack spread quickly, reaching civilizations light-years away. For the Galactic Council, a governing body overseeing relations between advanced species, the event was both alarming and unprecedented. Never before had a supposedly primitive race managed to challenge and defeat an empire as powerful as the Zorathians. Representatives from various alien races gathered in an emergency session to discuss what had happened and decide how to respond. General Ethan Carter stood alongside President Samantha Brooks as they prepared to address the Council via holographic transmission. The stakes were high. Humanity's future depended on how these extraterrestrial powers viewed their actions. Some members of the Council argued that Earth posed a threat, a dangerous wildcard that needed to be controlled or eliminated. Others saw potential allies in humanity's ingenuity and determination. As the meeting began, Ethan felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving that humanity deserved a place among the stars. The council chamber was vast, filled with beings of all shapes and sizes. Glowing orbs floated beside towering insectoids, while creatures resembling liquid metal shifted restlessly in their seats. At the center of it all sat Chancellor Kellis, a wise but stern figure who presided over the council. Earth has demonstrated capabilities far beyond its known level of development, Kellis said, addressing the assembly. We must determine whether this act of aggression warrants retaliation, or if there is value in welcoming them into our fold. Dr. Laura Bennett stepped forward to present humanity's case. Her voice was calm but firm as she explained the circumstances leading up to the counterattack. We did not seek conflict, she said. The Zorathians invaded our planet without provocation, demanding surrender or annihilation. What you witnessed was not an act of aggression. It was self-defense. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity does not wish to conquer or dominate. We only want the freedom to live in peace. Her speech sparked debate among the council members. One ambassador, representing a militaristic species called the Varnuk, argued for immediate action against Earth. They have shown they are capable of great destruction, he growled. If left unchecked, they will become a danger to us all. Another representative, a gentle being known as Lizara, countered this argument. Perhaps their actions reveal something more, she suggested. Courage, resilience, a willingness to fight for what is right. These are qualities we should admire, not fear. As the discussion continued, Ethan noticed subtle shifts in the room's atmosphere. While some remained hostile, others seemed intrigued by humanity's story. President Brooks seized the opportunity to speak directly to the council. "We do not claim to be perfect," she admitted, "but we are learning. We ask only for a chance to prove ourselves, to show that we can contribute to your alliance rather than threaten it." Her sincerity resonated with many, softening the harshest critics. Meanwhile, back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal, or as close to normal as possible after such devastation. Cities once reduced to rubble began to rise again, rebuilt with the help of volunteers from every corner of the globe. Refugees who had fled their homes started returning, piecing together fragments of their old lives. Danny Moore worked tirelessly alongside other mechanics to repair damaged vehicles, while Sophie Laurent organized efforts to rebuild schools and hospitals. Even children joined in, planting trees and painting murals to brighten neighborhoods scarred by war. Despite the progress, tensions lingered. Rumors circulated that the Zorathians might regroup and return, seeking revenge for their humiliating defeat. Ethan and his team remained vigilant, strengthening Earth's defenses and preparing for another attack. But amidst the uncertainty, there was also hope. People talked about the future, not just surviving but thriving. They dreamed of exploring the stars, forging alliances with friendly alien races, and leaving behind a legacy of unity and strength. When the Galactic Council finally reached a decision, it came as a surprise to many. Earth would be granted provisional membership, allowing humanity to participate in interstellar affairs under close supervision. It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a start. As Ethan listened to the announcement, he allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had taken its first step onto the galactic stage, and though challenges lay ahead, he believed they were ready to face them. The decision by the Galactic Council marked the beginning of a new chapter for humanity. Earth was no longer an isolated planet struggling to survive. It was now part of something much larger, a vast network of civilizations spread across the stars. General Ethan Carter and President Samantha Brooks worked tirelessly to establish ties with friendly alien species, eager to learn from their technology and culture while sharing humanity's own strengths. It wasn't always easy. Mistrust lingered on both sides, and misunderstandings often arose. But slowly, bridges were built. Dr. Laura Bennett became one of Earth's key ambassadors, traveling to distant worlds to foster cooperation. Her knowledge of ancient civilizations fascinated many extraterrestrial scholars, and her discoveries about Earth's forgotten past opened doors to new alliances. She often thought about Ryan and his team, whose bravery had made all of this possible. Though she rarely saw them anymore, their sacrifice stayed with her, fueling her determination to ensure humanity thrived among the stars. For Ryan Hayes, life after the mission was quieter but far from simple. He spent most of his days training new recruits, teaching them how to fight not just with weapons, but with courage and strategy. Many looked up to him as a hero, but Ryan didn't see himself that way. To him, he was just a man who had done what needed to be done. Danny Moore joined him occasionally, sharing stories of their harrowing journey aboard the Zorathian command ship. Together, they reminded the next generation of soldiers why they fought, not for glory, but for survival and freedom. Danny found purpose in rebuilding Earth's military fleet, designing ships inspired by the Solar Lance's technology. His creations weren't just tools of war. They symbolized hope and ingenuity. When asked about his motivation, he simply said, "We've got a second chance. Let's make it count." Sophie Laurent continued her work helping refugees rebuild their lives, ensuring no one was left behind as humanity moved forward. Schools reopened, businesses flourished, and communities grew stronger, united by shared resilience. As years passed, Earth transformed into a beacon of progress and unity. The scars of the invasion remained visible. Ruined cities stood as memorials, and annual ceremonies honored those who had fallen. But so did signs of renewal. Towering skyscrapers rose alongside parks, filled with laughter, and spaceports buzzed with activity as humans ventured beyond their solar system for the first time. Children dreamed of becoming explorers, diplomats, or engineers, imagining futures once thought impossible. Ryan often visited a quiet hill overlooking what used to be Chicago, now rebuilt and thriving. From there, he could see the stars clearly, each one a reminder of how far humanity had come. He thought about Alex, Mia, and others who hadn't returned from missions during the war. Their names were carved into monuments across the globe, etched into history as heroes who gave everything for Earth's survival. Ryan whispered silent thanks to them whenever he gazed at the night sky. Ethan Carter retired from active duty eventually, passing leadership to younger generations ready to guide humanity into its galactic future. Before stepping down, he addressed the world one last time. "We faced extinction and chose to fight back," he said. "But our greatest victory wasn't defeating the Zorathians. It was discovering what we're capable of when we stand together. Never forget that." Decades later, humanity stood shoulder to shoulder with other species, exploring uncharted galaxies and solving mysteries of the universe. The Solar Lance's blueprints were preserved in museums, not as relics of destruction, but as symbols of defiance and innovation. And though challenges still lay ahead, humanity faced them with confidence, knowing they had already overcome the impossible. In the end, Earth's ruthless counterattack had done more than stun the Galactic Council. It had proven that even the smallest spark could ignite a flame bright enough to light up the cosmos. Humanity had risen from the ashes of despair, carrying with it lessons of unity, sacrifice, and hope. As Ryan watched a human-made starship disappear into the horizon, bound for worlds unknown, he smiled. The story of Earth wasn't over. It was just beginning.